Welcome to another Ghost War video. This is the third and last video of the series in which I break down all the classes, and today I'm going to break down the support classes, which are namely the Scout, the Artillery, aka the man with the mortar, the most useless class, the Diversionist, and my personal favorite, the Medic class. But as usual, before we get into the specific classes, let's have a look at the support perks, because again, there is one particular perk that you might want to use all the time, and this is Drone Pilot, obviously, because you are flying drones most of the time. However, there is one perk, Full Backs, which can be very useful for the Artillery and the Medic on smaller maps, so keep that in mind. And there is one perk now in this class, which is the Thermal Vision perk, and this is now, after the 8.2 update, by far the most useless perk, so you not want to go for this. The first class today is the Scout, and as you might know, the Scout has a special drone, and this drone can detect enemies easier than any other drone. You start off with the MPX, you can upgrade it to an MP7. Personally, I wouldn't recommend to do it. It's not really useful. And then, of course, you have a Ghost War pack for the Scout, 1,500 credit points, and then you get some cosmetic variants for the guns as well that don't give you any advantage. Now, when you play the Scout, it is essential to communicate. And this doesn't only go for you as the Scout, this also goes for your teammates, because your teammates can actually use you. They can use your drone, your special ability, so you can scout areas out for them. But in order to do that, of course, they have to communicate. So never be a scout in a mute team when you play with randoms, people you don't know in an unorganized team. Never do that, because it's a waste. It's a waste of potential, and the scout is only good when you communicate with your teammates all the time. You know what you're doing, and your teammates know what they're doing. And ideally, you got at least one, maybe two people in the assault class, maybe a marksman, and then there's you as the scout who's actually trying to identify and mark the enemies so your team can quickly take them out. And yeah, and with that said, the scout is most useful on maps that are a bit more complicated, that have a lot of green, like Pilgrim Retreat or the Cocoa Farm. And it's very useful when you want to rush the enemy team straight from the beginning, and the rest of the team is really focused on a quick assault. Our next class is the Artillery, and the Artillery either has a C1, but you can also level it up to second level, and then you get access to an MP5. Now, what gun you prefer is totally up to you. It depends how you play the Artillery. If you're more on mid-range or long-range, then go for the C1, and if you find yourself more in close quarter combat, then definitely go for the MP5. As an artillery guy, yeah, of course, it's nice to use the mortar drone and actually kill your enemies with the mortar, but that's not the only thing you can do. You can still use your drone to spot enemies, and you can also use your mortar to make people move. So the artillery is actually a good choice when you play against a camping team that consists of a lot of marksmen, for example. However, when you want to go for artillery, make sure you don't have more than one other teammate in the support class, because otherwise this is a waste. You just sit there with your drones. In the end, the other team comes up with a jammer, and your entire strategy is actually wasted. And to prevent this, don't make artillery your primary class. It's a good option to choose in certain situations, definitely. But it shouldn't be your main thing. It shouldn't be the thing that you're always doing, because then your team will more than likely suffer from it. Overall, artillery is not bad. And again, it can be used with the full backs perk. And then the artillery guy has 4 mines. And this is very powerful indeed. Also, both the C1 and the MP5 are relatively decent guns. So overall, the artillery guy is not bad. But still, most of the time, he doesn't make your team win. Keep that in mind. It is a good option, especially on maps where people like to camp and like to stay back. Definitely a good counter tactic for a lot of marksmen, but it shouldn't be your primary class. Again, make use of your mines. You can put them on bodies. I will probably make a video entirely on mines only and how to use them properly. I will say some other things about mines when we have a look at the medic. But always have mines out. They can really save your ass. Speaking of ass, we have to talk about the Diversionist. It is definitely the most underpowered class in the game, and I would actually consider it as completely useless. Now you got a special drone. This drone doesn't mark people, but it has the noisemaker ability, so it imitates a gunshot. The problem is this gunshot is actually from a silenced gun, and the only class that has a silenced gun in this game is the assassin. Now that means, on paper, you have actually a very good combination with the Diversionist and the Assassin. The Diversionist can trick the enemies, and he can also track the enemies for the Assassin, so he can take them out without them actually being marked. Now this sounds good on paper, but in the actual game it doesn't really work. And the reason is this: you need to have two people to be focused to take out one enemy, and at the same time you've got three other enemies running around trying to kill you while you operate your drone, and you're pretty vulnerable. Then as a Diversionist you don't have mines, so you can't even protect yourself while you're using the drone, and this really puts you into a big disadvantage. Right now, when you see a Diversionist in the game, that actually means that he's a noob. And usually they use the noisemaker drone completely wrong. They use it up in the sky where you can actually see that it's the noisemaker drone, and it's a complete waste. So all that tells you is actually that there is someone sitting on his drone not knowing what he's doing. You start off with an SR635, you can upgrade it to an MP4, both are not bad. But again, the Diversionist doesn't have a special ability that makes him any good, so he rather needs a buff, a significant buff, maybe a couple of mines or anything, or just don't pick him. In its current state, just don't go for the Diversionist. Even when you team up with an Assassin, it's not that great. And I really hope that Ubisoft is doing something about the Diversionist in the future, because he is really significantly underpowered when you compare him to other operators. So there's definitely work to do. And now I can finally talk about my most favorite class, the Medic. You can see me playing the Medic pretty much most of the time. I only recommend not to use the Medic on smaller maps like Lumber Mill, but even there, with the full Bax perk, the Medic can be extremely effective. Now as a medic you can upgrade your P416 to a PP19, and to be perfectly honest with you, I haven't done it because I don't see any use for it. The P416 is a decent assault rifle, definitely not the best assault rifle in the game, but it's decent enough. And as a medic you can pretty much protect yourself with the mines. You can stay back, wait for one of your teammates to drop, and then getting up as soon as possible. But you can also use your drone for scouting, for example, and you can also combine it. So when you get the feeling that one of your teammates might die, use your drone for scouting, mark the enemy, and when he dies, instantly get him back up, because at this time maybe another teammate is there to distract the enemy. There are a lot of opportunities and a lot of possibilities that you have when you play as a medic. And usually you switch constantly between playing more aggressively and staying back and being more defensively at times. However, there's your one main antagonist, and this is the tech with his jammer. And when he's in the game, he makes your medic drone obsolete. Now, you got actually three possibilities. As a medic, you can either go for the drone pilot, but then, as I said, the tech can ruin it. You can go for quick hands, so you can actually manually revive your teammates and see this as your function if you really want to. Or you can go for the full Bax perk, and then you come with 4 mines, and you can strategically play with those 4 mines, put them into places where you think they can take enemies with them, and then you can actually restock your ammo and get another 4 mines in case you kill someone and can place a mine on a body or find a better position to put your mines at. As a medic, of course, you do not rely that much on communication as other classes, but you want to know what your teammates are doing, what the situation looks like, and if you can revive them or not. Otherwise, you revive them, you waste your drone, and they get instantly shot because someone is camping their bodies. So communication is really helpful as a medic, but it's not essential, and you can actually be a medic when you play with randoms. There's one more thing I want to show you. Again, I probably make a video about mines separately, but there's actually an ability that the medic has that no other class has, and I find this ability pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure that not a lot of people know about this ability. It's a very nice way to kill people because the medic can actually kill people and can make it look like a suicide, which is a very cool option. Now, what you see now is me creating a honeypot. This is something I usually do. I place down 2 mines and then I grab 2 more and actually disappear. This is something you can do as an assassin, for example, or as an artillery guy as well. And again, with the full backs perk, this is something you really want to consider in the assault category. But yeah, the kill I was talking about goes like this. When you have an enemy who has mines, like in this case I can see it's a medic and he will use mines on my teammate here, I can actually get my teammate up, my teammate causes the explosion, and the only person who dies is actually the enemy. And if you think this was just coincidence and this doesn't happen again, no, you can actually time situations like this when you are a good medic. But then again, you need some communication and you need to anticipate the situation. But it's working out really nicely because a lot of people used to drop mines on dead bodies, and when you see someone got killed and he got killed by someone with mines, then in 99% of the times he will drop a mine on him and you can actually use his mine to kill him and get your teammate up at the same time. I think this is a pretty cool trick. You should definitely take this into consideration when you play as a medic. I love to do this, definitely. So this was pretty much everything about the specific classes and operators. One last tip I want to give you: whenever you proceed to a new prestige level or get into prestige 1 for the first time, go for your most favorite operator. Get his second gun if it's useful, get his main perk and get his bonus perks. And then maybe get a new operator in the same category, and from then on you can expand. But don't do stuff like that, like unlocking all the operators with no perks. This is just extremely stupid and you don't want to do this. You want to have all the perks that you can have all the time. And that's pretty much everything I have to say today. Again, I'm going to make a video particularly on mines, on how to play with them. And I also got some other ideas for upcoming Ghost Recon Wildlands videos, so stay tuned if you enjoyed this video. I hope you did, and I see you in the next one.